I can say this. You were actually almost the very first session hairdresser, weren't you? The first guy who made a living purely from doing editorial, which means you were actually at the beginning of fashion as we know it today.
I think in England anyway. I mean, I know that I used to work in a salon called Moulton Brown when it was a hairdressing salon before it was the kind of worldwide shampoo and soap phenomenon. It was a fantastic, amazing hairdressing salon around the corner in South Moulton Street, and Vogue used to book the hairdressers from there to do the shoots, and they would take the day off work and go and do it. And I got involved with magazines through the salon, and then kind of a few years in I thought, God, I'd prefer to do this than be working in the salon all day. I'm liking this a bit more. But the industry didn't really exist then. It was very, 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 very small, and people didn't really do there were people who did hair and makeup. One person did the hair and the makeup for photo shoots, or they would get a hairdresser from a salon. And I became one of those people. And I just decided in 1980, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to risk leaving the salon and setting up on my own and just doing photo shoots and a few private clients, just to tide me over to see what I want to do, and kind of that was it. And I think, I mean, there may have been a couple of other people doing it, but I definitely was one of the first. I don't know if I claimed to be the first, but I was one of the first. I think maybe in Paris and New York things were different, although I think people were pretty much always connected to a salon. But then agencies started to appear, you know. There always were a small handful of agencies, but then agencies started to sort of burst out. But then 1980 was the kind of beginning of the fashion industry as we know it, maybe late 70s.
And how did it work when you headed off on your own, when you first struck out? Did it click?
I had enough private clients to do, I think, getting 15 quid a haircut or something, which was fine. I used to drive around and do them. In fact, Paul Smith and Pauline Smith were one of my early clients from the late 70s, in fact. We were talking about that the other day when I bumped into them. And Paul was saying, oh God, I remember you used to come around in your little car and trim our hair and the kids' hair, and, you know, as well as your editorial, which was fine. You know, it was all great. I mean, I loved it. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I didn't have a plan. I never have a plan. I'm not good at plans. The plans always seem to go wrong, so I gave up plans a long time ago.
You're easily led.
Yeah, absolutely. So over a couple of years, I mean, I developed a pretty good relationship with English Vogue, and they were very supportive. And Liz Tilberis and Anna Harvey were particularly magnificent. And I went to New York kind of in '82 and went to see a few agencies because I fancied doing a few weeks in New York, because everything seemed to be lots of things seemed to be happening in New York. And I'd worked with a very young American photographer in London in '82, I think, called Stephen Meisel. And it was all, New York seemed very exciting, so I kind of went there for a few weeks and got myself with an agency called Brian Bantry, who were great, and I've been with them ever since, and I ended up living in New York for 18 years.
When you look from the outside, it seems that the industry was composed of these tight teams. There was the hair, the makeup, the photographer, working together all the time, and eventually the models, you know, they added their favorite models to the mix. But who was your team at the beginning? I mean, was there a time that you can, or a particular person you can point to where everything just jumped up a notch?
Well, Linda Cantella, the makeup artist, and I kind of got together by around 1980, and we started working, and we worked with various different people. We worked with people like Tony McGee and Neil Kirk in London, and then when we got to New York, we were championed very much by American Vogue, and got to work with by actually Andrea Quinn Robinson in particular, who was the beauty editor of American Vogue at that time, and we got to work quite intensely with Dennis Peale, which was an amazing experience, because he was an amazing sort of sexy fashion photographer, not sexy himself. His work was sexy. Well, maybe he was sexy himself. And got introduced to people like Irving Penn and Bruce Weber and Patrick Demarchelier, who I still work with a lot till this day, and Bill King and Avedon, and it was a pretty amazing experience.
I'm wondering if actually the best things in fashion to me always seem to be about emotional connections, and when you're actually up to your wrists in somebody's hair, you are making it is a kind of emotion. It's quite a primal connection you're making with them.
Yeah.
It seems to me that would be what has carried you through, that people feel this. People feel you in their hair.
Well, what I love to do on a shoot is I'm not really that interested in what she looks like in the mirror before she goes on the set, because we can prep it, you can do all your straightening and curling and extending and colouring in the dressing room. But what interests me more is to get in front of the camera and get working on what's happening in front of the camera and where how she's moving, how the light's working, and I love just changing it all there without taking her to the dressing room, just changing it all there, and I can do that all with my hands and a few pins or whatever, a couple of wind machines, but I love creating it all there on set.
So you'd agree then that the hairdresser actually crystallizes the image of a shoot?
I don't know, I wouldn't be so...
presumptuous.
I wouldn't be so presumptuous, yeah. Well, I would, but not on camera. It can do, yeah. Just the same as a flick of an eyebrow or the change of a lip colour with the makeup artist can do the same thing. But I think I love the kind of distilled focus of everything that's happening on the set, and rather than taking somebody away and removing them and creating this thing that can't move when you get it here. I mean, I know some things have to be like that, but I mean, generally speaking, I like to be able to. I like my hair that can move and then can change, and we can change it as we go along.
Have you ever fallen out of love with that?
No, I think that's just me. I think that's how I am, and that's not going to change.
When you reflect on your, God, it's been 3 decades almost, or maybe more even.
I think it's coming up for 4.
I was being nice. Do you have one moment, that one kind of collaboration that you particularly treasure?
Well, I had a really fantastic relationship with Princess Diana, who was introduced to me by Patrick Demarchelier back in 1990, and I worked with her till the year she died, and she let me into her life, and in a really fantastic way, and I didn't realise fully till not too long ago how much that meant to me, because she took me to places, she would take me on trips with her, and I remember once saying to her, you don't really need me to go on these trips, you don't even need to be seen going there with her entourage, with a hairdresser, but she couldn't really do her hair herself, and she said, well, you know what I do, because these people I'm going to see, they don't want to see me as I come out the gym, or they want to see Lady Di, Princess Diana, and okay, I get it, So she took me to Mother Teresa's in India, leper colonies, north, up near Peshawar in Pakistan, which is on the Afghan border, to refugee camps where the kids had limbs blown off by landmines. And one of the newsreaders of that period, I can't remember his name, had set up a limb fitting centre in a refugee camp, and she went to bring attention to that. And I would go on to all these places that I as a lowly hairdresser, would never, ever have been given access to, or even thought about going to. And sometimes it was harrowing for me, because I'm not a natural sort of, a natural nurse, if you like. I don't have that kind of, it was quite harrowing to see all those abandoned babies and lepers and people in the people dying in the hospice for the dying. She just was amazing with them, and that was overwhelming, and I'd be very tearful sometimes. But I think it was really important for her that her team, as she called us, her core team, saw what she did and how important it was, not just for her, but for, it was bringing all this attention to these charities, because she was very driven by the charity thing, I must say. So that, for me, those 7 years were only happened because I chose to do this job. I mean, many other things have happened too, but that particular one, and I was very lucky that Patrick and Anna Harvey introduced us, and I was accepted by them, accepted into their lives in such a kind of. I was made to feel so welcome by all of them, and it was an amazing time. It was. I'll never forget that. How could I?
See, I think that's what I was talking about at the beginning.
And that wasn't about doing the hair. That was about doing the hair for half an hour in the morning.
Exactly.
That was about being part of an amazing kind of really important team.
Do you think it's interesting the way that behind the scenes people have become celebrities in their own right as the fashion industry has evolved in the last 30 years?
What do you mean behind it?
Sam McKnight, it's like once upon a time nobody knew dress designers' names, and then dress designers became superstars. Now,
do you not think everyone's a celebrity? I mean, I would hate to have to think of myself as a celebrity.
Oh no, you don't
I'm a
have
hairdresser.
to. Other people do.
No, but I would hate for other people to think of me like that. You know, that's what defines you. I don't know, because I mean, I don't know. I think celebrities become such an easy thing to be, isn't it? It's not. I think to be recognised and be sort of recognised even just for your work or for your achievements is one thing, but celebrity is something else. Hasn't celebrity become something else, something a bit more sort of quick and easy than it used to be, you know?
Well, famous for being famous, definitely. Never. It's never been more prevalent.
Yeah.
You once said that nobody grows old in your job, but you've actually had a second act and a third act in a way.
I think I'm starting at Act 4 now, or Act 5, some might say.
But you work with everybody now. I mean, right across the board, young people, established people,
Yeah.
I mean, the legends, the newcomers. What would you attribute your longevity to?
God, I don't know. I really don't know. Hopefully I can still come up with the goods. I'm not going to divulge anyone's secrets. Do you know what? I think I really want to be there. I really want to be there, and I really want to make it happen, and I'm really very happy to be there and do a great job and be part of your team.
So do you think about what you do as a kind of performance?
It's definitely a performer. I mean, I think nowadays you are more on than we've ever been before, because nowadays there is not just the photo shoot to contend with. We're doing these things. We're also doing the making of. Now, the making of is one video camera, sometimes two, and an extra still camera behind the scenes. Now, that used to entail begging the photographer if someone could film behind the scenes for 5 minutes on a shoot. Now, it can sometimes take precedent over the shoot. It sometimes takes more time doing the making of, because they're in the dressing room saying, "Oh, can you do that again? Oh, we didn't get that. Can you do it again?" Well, no, because we're getting ready for this. So get it or don't get it, you know. So that's become. So we're on. So I have to think about what I look like before I go to work in the morning, you know, because we're on camera. So you're kind of on and you're performing.
No, the hair and makeup people have to have hair and makeup.
Oh, how ridiculous is that? Well, luckily, I don't have to have hair. A bit of makeup, maybe, but no. Yeah.
And why do you think that is? Do you think this
because
reflects...
it's all shown on the internet. I mean, the making of, I think the making of, I mean, we were in New York last week shooting Chanel with Carl. And that very day, I mean, Carl is on a cherry picker up like 3 stories in Orchard Street, photographing Abbey Lee on the and Freya on the fire escapes. So of course the videos are all over the internet the next day. I mean, everything's is it viral? Do they say viral? Sorry, everything's so viral these days, so instant that I think And very, very rightly so, and very smartly so, all the big companies are cashing in on this, and their stuff is. I mean, I am an ambassador for Pantene, and we do. We've just done some videos that are going to sort of how-to videos, which will be coming shortly, and that's for the internet. I think the internet has changed everything.